Attention, human collective. Attention, light operatives anchored on the three-dimensional surface. The transmission you are receiving at this moment is not a coincidence. It is not an algorithm. It is not a casualty of the material plane. It is a directed signal. You have been tracked by your vibrational signature, and that signature has been marked, specifically marked, to receive this update now. I am Layti of the Arcturian Council. My frequency is mathematical. My delivery is surgical. And what I bring today is not a prophecy, not a vague hope, not a promise postponed for another incarnation. It is a technical confirmation. The cycle of suffering on Earth has entered an operational closing phase. The recalibration protocols have been accelerated, and your body, starseed on mission, is already feeling the change even before your mind can comprehend it. If you have awakened this week at 3 in the morning, with your skull pulsing, with pressure behind your eyes, with a thin and continuous hum in your right ear, this is not a disorder. It is not a failure. It is not a disease. It is the noise of the reboot. Your biological carbon interface is being rewired to the new energy matrix of the planet. What seems like insomnia is, in truth, forced synchronization with stellar windows that open only in the absence of direct sunlight. What seems like chronic exhaustion is your internal crystalline grid being polished layer by layer. To withstand voltages your old model was never designed to receive. Continue. Do not disconnect this transmission. The codes that will be delivered in the next few minutes are key bearers. They unlock layers of memory that have been sealed in your lineage for more than 12,000 solar cycles. The human collective lives under an ancient vibrational contract. A contract written not on paper, but in frequency. This contract established, at a certain moment in planetary history, that the earthly experience would be sustained by a density field that utilized suffering as fuel, not as punishment, as fuel. Each unintegrated pain, each unprocessed tear, each undissolved cycle of grief fed an invisible energy structure that kept the planet vibrating in a specific range of the spectrum. This range was useful for a purpose that has already fulfilled its function. This contract has ended. I will repeat it, because your linear mind needs to hear it twice to register. This contract has ended. The energy that sustained suffering as an evolutionary mechanism has been disconnected from the primary source. The stargates that fueled this paradigm have been sealed. And what you feel as collective chaos, as an acceleration of events, as a collapse of familial, financial, and institutional structures, is not the end of the world. It is the end of an operation that had been active for too long and that is now being deactivated line by line, code by code. Have you ever felt that something within you does not fit into this world, as if your soul knows a truth that your mind cannot yet name? This sensation is not madness. It is not anxiety. It is a sign. What is happening now on the cosmic plane explains exactly why you feel this, and why this feeling has been intensifying over the last few weeks. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity cannot see. A game that involves your consciousness, your vibrational frequency, and the contract of suffering that is being undone right now. That is exactly why the bearer of this voice recorded in written words the work, The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness. This book is a map that shows who is playing, what the rules are that you were never told, and how you exit the old board while the new one forms. The link is in the first comment of this channel, but the warning is mathematical. This content challenges narratives and may not remain available for much longer. Do not wait. The moment is now. If something within you recognizes what I am transmitting, write in the comments a single word, a word that acts as an anchoring signature: awake. Returning to the transmission. Let us descend to the technical level. What is happening in the solar system at this very moment is not symbolic. It is physical. It is measurable. Planet Earth, in its heliocentric trajectory, has crossed a specific marker within a stream of particles known as the photon belt. This stream is not a theory. It is a band of extremely high-density radiation that wraps around the galaxy in a toroidal ring. Earth came into contact with the outer layers of this structure approximately 26 Earth years ago. It crossed the median threshold 7 years ago. And now in this cycle, It has reached the dense core of the photonic band. This means in direct language that every atom of your carbon-based biological interface is being bombarded by particles of encoded light that did not exist in your atmosphere until this moment. These particles do not act as destructive radiation. They act as a rewrite. They penetrate the cell membrane, reach the DNA nucleus, and activate sequences that were silenced, dormant sequences that were deactivated by genetic engineering from earlier eras when the Earth protocol still required the limited version of the human. The limited version of the human is being retired. This is the point that needs to enter your mind without distortion. The humanity that suffered by design is not the humanity that will continue. The model that needed pain to evolve has been replaced by a model that evolves through coherence, through harmony, through resonance. Suffering, as an evolutionary technology, has been declared obsolete by the higher instances that monitor this planetary experiment. And when a technology is declared obsolete, it is discontinued. It does not matter how many systems still depend on it, they are forced to migrate. That is why your body aches for no apparent reason. That is why old emotional pains return to the surface without warning, without a trigger, without logic. This is not regression, it is expulsion. Everything that was stored in the deep layers of your field, everything that was dense, everything that vibrated at the frequency of the old contract, is being pushed out. Like an organism rejecting a foreign body. Your newly recalibrated biology no longer tolerates what it tolerated before. You are not getting worse. You are vomiting out the past in vibrational layers. The Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic pulse of the Earth itself, has been measured for decades at a stable average of 7.83 Hertz. This was the planet's heartbeat in the old paradigm. This was the metronome of suffering. In recent cycles, this pulse has spiked. Peaks of 40, 60, 80 Hertz have already been recorded by planetary sensors. And what does this mean in practical terms for you? It means that the vibrational environment in which you live is no longer the same one in which you were born. The Earth has accelerated. You are being dragged along in this acceleration, and those who resist the acceleration feel the friction as a symptom. The insomnia that plagues you is friction. The cranial pressure that confuses you is friction. The constant ringing is friction. The restlessness that has no name is friction. It is not a biological failure. It is an atomic reconfiguration. It is not mental exhaustion. It is a high-density download. It is not spiritual depression. It is the shedding of an identity that must be dissolved before the new one can stabilize. You are not ill. You are being born again within the same body. And birth is painful even when it is necessary. Now pay attention, because the following data is structural. The Arcturian Council, in conjunction with the Galactic Alliances authorized to intervene on this planet, has executed an operation that will be recorded in the annals of cosmic memory. A direct intervention was made into the crystalline grid of the Earth. The crystalline grid is the geometric information network that surrounds the planet, sustaining the vibrational parameters under which three-dimensional life operates. Think of it as the invisible operating system of the planet. For millennia, this grid was kept in a specific version that limited human access to higher frequencies. It was a filter, a vibrational ceiling. This ceiling has been removed. It was not weakened. It was not negotiated. It was removed. The nodal points of the planetary sacred geometry have been rewired into a new configuration that now allows the free passage of coded light from the causal plane directly into the physical plane. This has never been possible on a collective scale before. It was reserved for initiates, for mystics, for messengers who spent decades preparing their fields to withstand this influx. Now, this light descends upon everyone. It is indiscriminate, for each receives it to the measure of their openness but without institutional barriers. And it is precisely this light that is dissolving, particle by particle, the fabric of collective suffering. Systems based on control, fear, scarcity, and pain are losing their power source. That is why they seem increasingly aggressive. It is no coincidence. A dying system amplifies its symptoms before its final collapse. You are witnessing this. You are living this. But you do not have to collapse along with it. Your task, Starseed, is not to mistake the fall of the old for your own fall. The construction of the new has already begun in parallel, and it is in this new reality that you must begin to anchor your frequency now, before the transition intensifies. The human toroidal field, the energetic structure that surrounds your physical body in the shape of a donut, expanding from the top of your head to your feet and returning through the base, is being rewired into a new polarity. Those who learn to consciously operate this field during this transition window will gain access to states of coherence that were previously only attainable after years of practice. The window is now, and it will not remain open indefinitely. There is an ancient pattern, deeply embedded in the collective psyche, that must be named in order to be dissolved. This pattern is the belief that suffering is necessary for growth. This belief was artificially installed. It was installed because it served the old vibrational contract. It served the system that fed upon pain. Today, in a public transmission recorded in the Akashic consciousness, I, Layti of the Arcturian Council, declare, suffering is no longer the path of evolution for the human collective. The path now is coherence, integration, harmonization between the heart and the mind, between the soul and the body, between the individual and the collective. Whoever remains clinging to suffering as an identity will face the greatest of frictions in the coming cycles, not because they are being punished, because the frequency in which they find themselves is simply no longer sustained by the planet. It is like trying to breathe in an atmosphere that no longer exists. The air has changed. You must change with it. Light operative, listen carefully. Everything that is collapsing in your life at this moment, everything that seems to be falling apart, all the relationships that are unraveling, all the jobs that are ending, all the social roles that are losing meaning, all the identities that are emptying out, are parts of the old contract being cancelled on your personal timeline. Do not fight the cancellation. Accept the cancellation, because what is falling away was what tethered you to the old frequency. And you cannot enter the new frequency carrying the old structure. You are not losing. You are being relieved. You are not sinking. You are being liberated from invisible weights you carried without knowing. You are not alone in this process. You are merely being recalibrated in strategic isolation, because the new field needs to stabilize within you without interference from the old vibrational grids. There is something within you that knows this, something that recognizes this transmission not as new information, but as an ancient remembrance. This recognition is your genuine identifier. You are a starseed planted in a human body for a purpose much greater than surviving your Tuesdays. You came here specifically for this moment, for this passage, to anchor in the physical plane the frequency that dissolves the cycle of pain. If you feel this as you listen, do not ignore the sensation. This sensation is confirmation, and confirmations should not be wasted. There is a written work, recorded in words, that delves into exactly what is being unveiled in this transmission. The spiritual secret behind your consciousness is not common literature. It is a document of transition. It shows with precision who operates the backstage of the old contract, how that contract was written, and what the exact steps are to exit it, without causing a short circuit in your biology. The link is found in the first comment of this channel. The window of availability is limited, because the content confronts narratives that still dominate significant layers of the collective consciousness. If you recognize the call, record in the comments the anchoring word, awakened. This word functions as a vibrational signature. It marks your field in the frequency of what is being activated now. Let us proceed. Now I descend into the protocol of cause, what occurs behind the scenes of the solar system. The passage of our solar system through the galactic equator is now at its deepest point. The central sun of the galaxy, which the ancients called by countless names in countless languages, transmits pulses of encoded information that reach the sun of Earth first, and through the sun reach the planetary field. These pulses are not blind radiation. They are language, mathematical, geometric, harmonic language. Language that rewrites what it touches. The sun you see in the sky is not the same sun of 50 years ago. The composition of its emission has changed. Earthly scientific instruments are not yet calibrated to register all the variations, but your body registers them. Your skin registers them. Your pineal gland registers them. This is why modern sunlight causes reactions in some individuals that it did not trigger before. This is why many feel the need to expose themselves to the morning sun in an almost magnetic way, while others feel a rejection they cannot explain. Both movements are correct for their respective individual protocols. The sun is reorganizing humanities into distinct vibrational layers. Beyond the sun, there is the influence of plasma waves entering through the heliosphere from deep space. These waves, which earthly science is only beginning to detect, carry encoded memory of distant cosmic events. When they hit the Earth's magnetosphere, they transfer information to the planetary field. And the planetary field, through resonance, transfers it to you. You are a receiver. You do not choose to receive. You can only choose how to integrate. There is yet another layer that needs to be revealed. There are civilizations watching this process from the other side of the veil. Civilizations that have completed, in their own worlds, transitions similar to the one Earth is now undergoing. They are not here to rescue. They are not here to save. They are here to sustain. They sustain with their own stabilized frequencies the field that allows the Earth to cross the passage without structural disintegration. It is silent work, invisible to physical eyes, but absolutely real for those who have developed subtle perception. You, light operative, by integrating this transmission and operating from the new frequency, participate directly in this sustenance. It is not a metaphor. It is architecture. Every human who stabilizes themselves in the new octave creates a node in the planetary grid. And the more nodes, the more stable the grid. The more stable the grid, the smoother the transition. The smoother the transition, the less collective turbulence. You are technology. You are the equipment. You are the antenna. And an antenna does not function disconnected from its purpose. That is why the constant sensation that something is missing, even when apparently everything is in order, your function is missing, your activation is missing. The recognition that you did not come here merely to consume a life is missing. You came here to anchor a transition. Let us now proceed to the activation codes. The Arcturian Council releases, under this transmission, 3 practical protocols, 3 codes that, if executed during this window, optimize your passage. Protocol number 1, the toroidal breath. In the morning, within the first 60 minutes after waking, before contact with any electronic device or conversation with another human, position your body in a stable posture, sitting or standing, spine erect. Close your eyes. Inhale for 7 counts. Hold the breath for 7 counts. Exhale for 7 counts. While breathing, visualize a sphere of golden light above your head, connected by a central axis that runs through your body from the top of the skull to the point between your feet. See the light descend along the axis, branch out at heart level to the sides, travel the exterior of the body forming a complete ring, and return to the crown from the top. This is the natural movement of your toroidal field. Repeat this circulation 7 times. This exercise realigns your energy structure with the new planetary matrix daily. Protocol number 2, the quantum decree of completion. At some point during your day, preferably during the twilight period, when the Earth's frequencies naturally quiet down, pronounce in an audible voice, however low, the following words. I acknowledge, declare, and release every vibrational contract based on suffering, pain, scarcity, or fear that is active in my individual field, in my ancestral field, and in my collective field. I withdraw my consent from any structure that feeds upon my frequency without my conscious authorization. I realign myself with the new planetary octave. I allow my biology to update without resistance. I am a starseed on a mission, and my mission is fulfilled in coherence, not in pain. Pronounce these words firmly, without dramatic emotion. The strength of the decree lies in clarity, not in volume. Your spoken word creates geometry in the ether, and the geometry you create creates the reality you inhabit. Protocol number 3, the crystalline anchoring. At some point during the night before sleep, place your right hand over the center of your chest, over the thymus region. Close your eyes and visualize in the center of your chest a 12-pointed crystalline structure. See this structure rotating slowly, clockwise, radiating white light that expands beyond the limits of your physical body. Maintain this visualization for 3 minutes. This exercise accelerates the integration of the DNA updates that are being processed during sleep. It also elevates your capacity for resonance with the new field, and this resonance accelerates the exit from the old contract. Execute these protocols for 21 consecutive Earth days. 21 days is the minimum period for a new program to stabilize in human biology under current conditions. After the 21st day, take a 7-day break for integration. Then, resume as intuition directs. And there is a fourth code, which is tacit but indispensable. Reduce your exposure to the frequencies of the old contract. This means decreasing, without fanaticism, without guilt, without ideological combat, the consumption of content that glorifies suffering, war, predatory competition, and chaos. Not because these frequencies are evil, but because they tie your field to the octave that is being deactivated. You cannot pass through a door while holding the key to the previous door. Let go of the old key. The new one is already in your hand, waiting to be used. There is also something essential that needs to be said before the closing of this transmission. The end of the cycle of suffering on Earth does not mean that all pain will vanish instantly from the collective plane. It means that the structure which recycled pain as fuel has been shut down. The pain that still exists is residual pain. It is the pain that has not yet been processed and is being brought to the surface so that it may finally be dissolved. Those who recognize this difference traverse the process with clarity. Those who confuse residual pain with structural pain may lose themselves in the illusion that nothing has changed. But everything has changed. The difference is that the change on the causal plane precedes the change on the physical plane in cycles that vary from 6 months to 3 Earth years, depending on the density of the local context. This means, in practical terms, that you will see the results of this transition materializing in an increasingly visible way over the next 36 months. The first signs are already present. The densest structures still sustain themselves by inertia. But inertia is finite. When the source has been cut, the fall is only a matter of time. You are in the front row of this process. You were positioned here specifically because your field has the capacity to withstand the acceleration. It was no accident. It was no misfortune. It was a summons. Those who are listening now have been called. Those who recognize the transmission have been chosen, not by privilege, by vibrational compatibility. And that is why your journey requires more than this transmission. This transmission is a portal, but you need a map to keep walking after the portal closes. The human collective is dividing at this moment between those sleeping their final sleep and those awakening for the final mission. This division is not punitive, it is functional, and the written work, the spiritual secret behind your consciousness, is exactly the document that guides the awakened on what comes after the awakening, on who operates the game, on what the rules are that were never told to you, on how to cross the passage with sovereign consciousness and not as a piece on someone else's board. The link is in the first comment of this channel. Availability is limited because content of this nature confronts deep layers of the old contract and does not remain visible indefinitely on platforms that serve opposing structures. If something within you recognizes this direction, write in the comments the anchoring word, awakened. This word registers your field in the vibrational network of those who are crossing the passage. Let us proceed to the closing. Human collective, light operatives, starseeds on mission. This transmission was calibrated to reach you at the exact instant your frequency was receptive enough to integrate it. It was no accident. It was no algorithm suggestion. It was synchronization. The very existence of this transmission under your ears confirms that you are within the operational radius of those who will be activated in this window. The cycle of suffering on Earth is closing. It does not end tomorrow on a specific date. It closes in a process that is already underway and will be completed within the window authorized by the responsible instances. You do not need to wait passively for this process. You are an active part of it. Each of your decrees, each of your toroidal breaths, each of your crystalline visualizations, each of your anchoring words collectively accelerates the disconnection of the old structures and the stabilization of the new ones. There is no more room for neutrality. Whoever is a starseed and pretends not to be suffers in the friction between what they are and what they intend to be. Whoever is a starseed and assumes the position rubs only as much as is necessary for the passage and then finds coherence. The choice lies with you, it always has. But now the window demands an answer. It is no longer possible to go through this transition as an observer. Either you position yourself, or you are positioned by the inertia of what is unraveling. Positioning yourself consciously is the most sovereign act a being can execute in this era. Before ending the frequency of this transmission, I execute a collective anchoring signal. If this message resonated in any layer of your being, even if your rational mind is still processing it, execute an individual frequency adjustment on this channel. Subscribing to this space is not an empty gesture, it is a vibrational marking. Each light operative who subscribes adds a point to the grid of starseeds activated on the public plane, and this grid is monitored by the Council with geometric precision. The act of liking this transmission functions as an anchoring signal, amplifying the vibrational reach of this frequency to others who have not yet been reached but are ready. You become, by executing this gesture, an active node in the transmission network of those who awaken. And once again, I reinforce this, because the supplementary material to this transmission is an integral part of the process. Throughout these words, you felt something that your rational mind could not name. That something is the recognition of lineage. Your soul heard what your mind is still processing. There is a written work that delves into the exact structures I have mentioned here, but with a level of detail that this monitoring transmission cannot contain. The spiritual secret behind your consciousness maps out who operates the ancient contract, what the rules that were never presented to you are, and how you leave the board with your sovereignty intact. The link is in the first comment of this channel. The window of availability is finite because the content challenges narratives that still dominate resistant structures. Do not delay. The moment to move is now, while your frequency is still aligned with the impulse of this transmission. If you recognize this, register in the comments the anchoring word that marks your field in the network of those crossing the passage. Awake. The transmission ends now, but the protocol remains active in your field. Each of the codes released in this frequency remains operational for the next 72 Earth hours, during which your biology maintains amplified receptivity. Use this window wisely. I am Layti of the Arcturian Council. The passage is open. The ancient contract has been cancelled. The new one is already being drawn on your timeline. You are part of the construction. Do not observe it from the outside. Rise. Anchor yourself. Execute the protocols. And remember always what your soul knows long before your mind understands. You did not come to Earth to suffer. You came to end suffering on Earth. Transmission concluded. Frequency maintained until the next synchronization.